As you know, and as you said, CJ, that the COVID-19 pandemic has had a disproportionate impact on working women's health and employment. 1 in 3 jobs held by women was designated as essential. So the rest of the world figured out what we've known all along, that the work that women do is essential. More women have lost their jobs between February and May than any other group. It's in sharp contrast to the number of jobs that men have lost, twice as many in this time period. And August 13th was African American Women's Pay Equity Day. And again, although Black women are employed in occupations that have been essential during the pandemic and are essential, opening and recovery the economy, Black women experienced large pay gaps across many occupations, across 6 nations. So Black women nurses make less money than white male nurses. But the group that's been the hardest hit among women has actually been the Latinx women, who have experienced a steeper decline in employment, like, more so than anybody else. And the reason is, of course, is because they've been employed in the leisure and hospitality industries, where 14% of the Hispanic women were in 2018. So, and those jobs have been decimated, and they have not been called back, and they're not able to work from home. So that's been in terms of that. And we're looking at our members, and we have chapters all over the United States, and we know that people are doing work to help relieve that by helping to staff with food banks and making sure that people have whatever they need in terms of care, but also in terms of medical help and attention. And it's fortunate for the women who are union members in that respect because of sick leave, but for the women who are not in unions, it's devastating.
Thank you, CJ. Well, this has been difficult to answer your question. Undocumented immigrants have had a very difficult time in the meatpacking industry, as we know, and as Cooper made it very clear, we have several 100,000 workers in meatpacking. Many are immigrants, many are Latinos, and it's been very hard for these workers to enforce their rights in the workplace, to file grievances, to go to state and federal government to file complaints through OSHA and so forth. So it has been, and then of course, the thing that Cooper is probably very aware of is when it comes to these workers who have been encouraged by the meatpacking plants to file unemployment when they're not working for several weeks, when they're trying to recuperate from being infected. It's very difficult for them to file for unemployment if they're undocumented. Of course, we know how that works. We don't have to go into that discussion. So the employers, the bosses, they know what's going on. They know that they have held these workers hostage. They know that these plants are incubators for the virus. And then when we look at the amount of infections, over 30,000 meatpacking workers have been infected to date, according to some of the national research, and over 200 have died. But that's reports coming out of only 22 states. So we don't have reports from the other states that are not reporting to the CDC. So with the work that Cooper, through his Labor Council, is doing, and through the work of other local unions, there's a Kim Cordova with UFCW number 7 down in Greeley, Colorado, who's also doing a pretty amazing job. This is a difficult time, and as a Latino community, we have been held hostage. Our 60 million people within the Latino community, here we are having to fight things like this. Not only in meat packing, but also in agricultural work. And then, of course, we have the other essential work out there in construction and so forth. So it has been difficult, CJ.
And one of the things I've been involved with, and I've been in communication with people around the country who are trying to do something similar, is the formation of an unemployed worker organizing committee to draw unemployed workers together. This is based basically off of just applying traditional labor organizing methods to the circumstances today. So unemployed workers might be unemployed, but they're also still workers. And in my experience, I came into this particular moment, I was working at a quick service fast food restaurant towards the end of my degree. And my coworkers and I had been working to organize a union at our company for several months. And we had built an organizing committee of workers that was active and had, a fair amount of leadership in it. And when the COVID crisis hit, everybody was very scared. Everybody was very confused. We weren't getting any information either from our political leadership, and we weren't getting any information from our boss. And one of the things that kind of shook out when the organizing committee stepped in to try to provide some leadership in that moment is there were a bunch of people who were immunocompromised, who had medical conditions, and also were frankly skeptical about risking their lives for $8 an hour. And we were able to organize and put pressure on management to allow people who wanted to take voluntary furloughs to take that. They wouldn't contest the unemployment claim, which would open up for people who didn't want to take the furlough more hours for them. And so when we fought and we finally managed to put enough pressure that management delivered that statement in writing to everybody, there was kind of a mass exodus from the company as people left out of concern for their health and safety. And that could have been the end of the story, and we could have, gone our separate ways and just like hoped for the best. But we actually all stuck together, not just the organizing committee, but people who had just recently been brought into the campaign. And we formed a Facebook group that served as kind of a mutual aid hub, and we help each other navigate the unemployment process, which is, very, very difficult. And because we had some connection to the labor movement, we were able to leverage some of the tricks of the trade, as it were, to make sure that 100% of the people who took that furlough with the union organizing campaign got on their unemployment, and everybody was able to stay home and stay safe and not have to worry about paying their bills because we stuck together.